All right, let's pray. God, thank you for today. Thank you for just the great things that I've already heard about what you did up at Fort this past weekend with the youth group and college students, Lord. We just thank you for your goodness to us, Lord. Help us as we study these things tonight, and we pray that we would honor you with our time together. We pray in the name of Jesus. Amen. All right, so first things first, any questions from anything that we did last week or really the last 2 weeks that you're like, I was looking at this over the week and I'm not getting this? Anything that comes to mind? Or you feel like you're pros? You've got all of this stuff aced. Yes?
Or I know I probably should know this, but when you're doing the notes and you're going below the step or you're going above, how does that go again? I know it's probably easy peasy with Constitution, but I can't remember.
The ledger lines?
Yeah.
So it's just like what the ledger line does is it just extends the staff. So it's just like you're adding, and we'll do it like this. So again, this line is A, right? So the note on that line is A. And then this line is E, right, in the treble clef. Okay, so now what happens in between here? If we act like there's a line in between the two here and put a note there, that's middle C. So that means that there is a space now between this ledger line and this bottom line. And so now this space is your other note, which is D, right? So, and then same thing here. There's a note that sits just above that, in that space, just above that line and below this line, and that's your B. And then the same thing goes from below. So treble clef, your last line is G, right? And then if you put another line here, and you could even do 2 lines, that means you've got your G there. And then if we're going down, your space is F. Then on this new line, E. And then in between, I should do it like this. So then if you keep that line, that E line there, but put a note just below it, functioning as another space, right? And that's your D. And then 2 down is C. And you can keep going on. So you're just making more, all ledger lines do are making more lines and spaces to your staff to keep going. And then the same thing up here. So this is an F. You go on above that line into this next space. You got a G. Do another line there. So now you've added another line, A and B, and then C. And then you've got your C, 2 below and 2 above and in between. There are this, and you can keep going on and on and on and on. I mean, you could have, you could have, this, whatever that is. So we'd have to figure that out. But yeah, right. or a wide enough hand to go down low on the piano there. So does that make sense? Is that help? Yeah, sort of, kind of. All right. Any other questions about anything at all? Okay. So we'll do this.
I thought I knew it. Because I just thought, like if you're doing like on the treble clef, you've got face.
Yep.
I thought the first one above there would be an F again, then A, C, just repeat the 4.
Well, you're close, but then that line is that top F.
Yeah.
So then you got to do the next one, which would be G, is your next space. So it's really, as you're doing it, your spaces just keep skipping, right? So your lines and spaces. So if you got an E, then your next is G, then B, then D, then F. Because so that keeps going, skipping there. All right. All right. Well, turn in your notebooks to page 13. We're going to do just a little bit of review on our rhythms and note values. There's two 4-4 exercises there. It's kind of smushed together. So the first 2 lines is one exercise. Then the next 2 lines is another 4-4 exercise. Take a minute and see the boxes there. I took out a note from this rhythm. This is just a regular rhythm exercise. I took out a note and put a box there. And your job is to fill in with either a note or a rest what note is missing from each of these measures. Does that make sense? So let's do that first one together. So if it's 4-4 and your line, I think, is it eighth? It's just, and then rest and repeated, right? And then your box is here?
Yep.
And
And then an eighth, and then our eighth note, and then our eighth rest.
okay. So in 4-4 time, how many beats are in a measure? 4. What gets 1 beat? Quarter note. So you're really kind of doing the math here, right? So you've got this right here is 1 beat, right? This plus this is 1. This plus this is 1. This plus this is 1. 1, 2, 3. So what's missing? A quarter note, right? Or a quarter rest because it's 1 beat. Okay? So go ahead and try to do as best as you can those first 4 lines there, and then we will talk through that and figure that out together. I'll put up on the board, I'll put what options you have. All right. Well, let's just go over the answers here and point a few things out. So the first one we have is a quarter note, right? Or a quarter rest. You could pick either one of these 2. That's the one we did together. And then that next measure is what? An eighth note. Yep. An eighth note. You could put an eighth rest there, but probably it's probably a note, because if there wasn't a note there, because there's an eighth rest before it, they would have just put a quarter rest, right? You wouldn't likely, in 4-4 time, you wouldn't typically see 2 rests together there. They would just combine it. Then the next measure, measure 3, quarter note or quarter rest there, because that could be either for sure. Next measure, another eighth note, and again, probably the note, because there's a rest before and after it. So they would have probably, if it was a rest, they would have kept the one after it, because that's that's the 4th beat. It's paired with that eighth note. But the 2 before would have just been a quarter rest. So beat 3 would have been a quarter rest, is probably how it would have been notated if it was supposed to be a rest. So it is an eighth note there. Next measure. Half note, yes, or a half rest. So this is the first measure of the second line, right? And then that next measure there is probably an eighth rest and not an eighth note. Why wouldn't it be an eighth note? They would be beamed together. Yep. Yep, exactly right. Exactly right. Next measure. At the end, you have a quarter note or quarter rest. Could be either there. And first beat of that next measure, the last measure. Quarter note. Yep, or quarter rest. Same thing there. All right. And then the next line starts a new exercise, but still in 4-4. So you probably have there what? Probably an eighth rest, right? Again, it would have been beamed to the next note if it would have been a note.
But there's a rest in front of it.
Yep. So remember, in notation, they're going to want to clump the beats together, or the half measure. They start with the half measures, right? So you would clump 1 and 2 together and 3 and 4 together. But here you have the first, this is the first measure of the third line, right? So that first beat is your eighth note, eighth rest. Second beat, eighth note, eighth rest. So now your third beat is going to go together. So that's why they would repeat the rest there. And it wouldn't be a note because it's not beamed to the next one. Right? And same thing really with the next measure, right? Same exact thing. Probably an eighth rest because that flag on the note before it goes down and the one after. So. 1, 2, 3. I'm on the second measure, sorry. Third measure, you're right, is quarter note. Yep. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. Oh yeah, I'm sorry. Yeah. Sorry. So third line should be eighth rest, quarter note, then another quarter note or quarter rest there, and then an eighth rest. Right?
Eighth rest?
Yep. Third line.
I didn't know we finished the second line.
Oh yeah. Yep.
In that third one, why would it be a rest? Because it's preceded by a rest.
On the fourth measure?
Yeah.
Fourth measure of that third line because it's not beamed to the note before. On beat 3 is an eighth rest and an eighth note. If it would have been a note, it would have been beamed to the next one after it.
But you didn't put a beam on the one that followed going to the left. So how did we know that we're supposed to beam it?
Because it's that one's the rest. Yeah. Yep.
Can we do that line one more time?
That line one more time. So third line is an eighth rest, right? Eighth rest, and then a quarter note or quarter rest. That one doesn't matter. Same thing with the next measure, quarter note or quarter rest, and then an eighth rest.
Only because the beam is there.
Yep. Which brings us then to the next line, the last line here, right? Fourth line down. That box is going to be an eighth note, but beamed to the one before it. So you have.
How come not a rest?
Because the beams are.
Yeah, if you didn't see the beam, it could be a rest. It could be a rest too. Yep, for sure. But you could also do that. So the box was like this. A little tricky. So it could be this or that. Okay? All right. And then next measure. Eighth note. Next measure. Eighth note. And last measure. Half note. Yep. Half note. Or half rest. Second measure was eighth note. So it should be eighth note or eighth rest, eighth note, half note, or half rest. Okay? This is really tricky stuff. Okay? Let's just talk through now that we are in 3/4 time on the next one here. What would be that first blank, first box? It'd be a quarter note, right? Or quarter rest. So go ahead and fill that in. We'll do this one together. Quarter note or quarter rest. What about that next one? A dotted quarter, right? Oh, I didn't give you that as an option. Oh, sorry. That's why we're doing it together. Yep. So you see that second measure, you've got beat 1 is the rest, and then it ends with an eighth note. So you have 1.5 beats there. So now you have to fill in with one note or rest would be another 1.5, which is your dotted quarter. Okay.
Third measure, if there's 3 beats per measure, aren't there 3 already? In the third measure, the fifth line?
We haven't gone there yet.
Well, we're on it now, so that's good. Yeah.
Okay, I'm sorry.
No, we're on it now. You're fine. So 2/8 notes. 2/8 notes is how many beats? 1. And then dotted quarter is how many beats? 1.5, right? So you have 2.5.
I'm sorry, I was thinking of a dotted half, which is 3.
Yep. Yep. So then what is that? What's that box? An 8th note or 8th rest. Yep. I should have numbered the measures there for you. All right, so next measure, this is 4th measure of the 3/4 exercise. What would that be? Dotted quarter or dotted quarter rest? So you got the 1.5 there. And then that line ends with what? You have an 8th note tied to something, tied to the next measure, and it is a quarter note. Yep. And so because it's tied, you know that that has to be a note and not a rest.
I do now.
Next line, first measure. Quarter note or quarter rest, either one. Next measure. 8th note or 8th rest. Yep. Next measure. 8th note or 8th rest. Next measure. Quarter note. Yep. And not quarter rest because it's tied, right? And then your last measure is an 8th rest. Yep. And probably a rest, not a note, because the other one has a flag on it, right? Otherwise, it would be beamed like the first 2 notes in that measure.
Third measure. Yeah.
The what?
The 4th box of the 4th measure. What was the answer to the
Quarter note. Yep.
I go back and look at these?
Yeah, yep. Yep. All right. Any questions on that so far? Because now we're throwing a curveball here. Did you say 6/8? What's wrong with you?
No, I did the 3/4 and then I looked at the 6/8 and I was like, I'm not doing this one yet.
All right, so 6/8 is a new time signature, right? Oh, bad time to leave. We'll catch you up. Because this is going to change everything.
I started doing it and I was like, I was like, I'm not doing this right.
All right. So everyone, yes, help yourself to the food on the tables.
More sheets, somehow I got all kinds of sheets. The one you're working on.
The one,
Yeah, that's 13 or the whole.
oh, it's right here. These right here.
Oh, well, duh.
That's yours. Yep. Sorry, I should have said that at the beginning to make sure you have the.
Okay, so
Now, do you have those are for tonight though. Do you have
Oh,
the
I don't-
ones from?
No, I don't. I got everything when I took guitar lessons a million years ago, and I got stuff in here for that. I have all kinds of stuff, but not the right stuff.
This is right here.
Oh, that's not
9.
13, no.
Yeah. So here's 13.
That's 13?
Yep. There you go.
Okay,
That's
all
what we.
right.
That's
Okay,
the one that we
never
just did.
mind.
You're good. You're good. All right. So this is not on a sheet. Okay. This is it's. I should say this is on sheets from last time. So this is also review. But we just want to make sure that you know 6/8. Okay. So everyone, eyes up here as we go through 6/8. In 6/8 time, how many beats are in a measure? 6, right? So instead of counting 1, 2, 3, 4, we're counting 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And you hear as I'm counting that, what are the strong beats in that measure? 1 and 4. Yep, because the 3 notes are paired together. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. People often ask, why don't you just do Why don't you do like 2 measures of 3/4 rather than 6/8? And that's the reason, is the feel of that is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. In 3/4, yes, you get a downbeat, but the other beats also get a pretty strong emphasis too. 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. And this is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. You hear the difference between that swing? So 1 is your strong beat, 4 is strong, not as strong as 1, and then 2, 3, 5, and 6 are the weaker beats there. So, but what kind of note gets 1 beat in 6/8? An 8th note. Right? Because 8 is at the bottom. So top note tells you how many beats are in the measure 6. And then the bottom number tells you what note gets 1 beat. So a full 6/8 measure could look like this. Right? So your 8th notes now are your 1 beats, and now you have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Okay? And so the reason why, so you typically wouldn't see it marked why wouldn't you see it like this? It's the same amount, right? The same, you got 6/8 notes here. Why wouldn't you see it labeled like this very often? Yep. Because the next strong beat in the measure is here, and so you want to have your groups starting with that next strong beat, right? So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. That doesn't. It's too even there. So you'll see them often paired or put together in groups of 3, or could be like this. Right? Or it could be also, this would be a full 6/8 measure, right? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Okay? No, yeah. Yep. Yeah, and that, if you see that kind of combination, sometimes they will do it like this. But most often you'll just see it with the flags on it if they do it like that. Okay? So, let's talk through that last, again, we're not going to spend a ton of time on this because it was from the last class, and most of the music that we'll look at in the next 2 weeks, we won't do much with 6/8, but I just want to make sure everyone is aware of this, because we do see it in music regularly.
6/8 time, how do you direct?
So you'll probably see it as in 2. You'll see 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And so you see that down beat is down low, right? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So the conducting pattern looks like a big check mark. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So that's what it's supposed to look like as you're seeing conducted there. So, yeah, good question. Okay. So if we're looking at the very bottom, right, 6/8 is the last 2 lines of page 13. What would be the missing note there? The first measure of the 6/8 on the bottom of the page. Dotted quarter, right?
Okay, why not half? Just not be difficult.
No, that's precisely a great question. So in 6/8 time, how much does a half note get?
No, half note we get 3, but a dotted half note we get 4.
So let's do this. So this was in your beats here are in 4/4, right? Now because we've changed the math and now 8th note gets 1, that's going to adjust everything else, right? So if your eighth note gets 1 beat, your 16th note now gets half. Your quarter note now gets 2. Your dotted quarter now gets 3. Your half note now gets 4.
Oh, the dotted gets 6.
Dotted half note gets 6. And your whole note is non-existent, right? Because your max is 6. Ah. Okay.
The last measure is that dotted.
Yep. So like the way that we think about it, your whole note in 6/8 is the dotted. The thing that takes up the whole measure is your dotted half note or dotted half rest. Okay?
Can we see a lot of music with 6/8?
Yes. Yes. It's yep. Yeah, anything that has that kind of swing to it is, and I gave you an example actually, the next page, if you wanted to look over there real quick. Come unto Jesus, that's the song that we sing. Come unto Jesus, all you who are weary. 1, 2, 3, 4, da, 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 right? That's that's to help you feel that swing. Yes. Yep. Okay, so we'll come back and look at that in a minute, but go back to page 13. So back to that first measure, bottom of the page. What's filling in that blank? First measure of the 6/8. Yep, because we're missing 3 beats, right? We have 3 beats covered with an 8th rest and 2 8th notes. Now we need another 3. That's your dotted quarter. And it's going to be the notes. Why? Because it's tied to a what in the next measure? Quarter note. Yep. We're needing 2 beats there. Okay. Third measure, an 8th note, right? We're just missing 1 beat there because we've got 3 beats with the 8th notes earlier in that measure, and then we've got 2 more beats with that quarter note, leaving us needing 1 more 8th note, right? And then the next measure, measure 4, quarter note. Yep, again, it's got to be the note, not the rest, because it's tied. Last measure of that first line of 6/8, dotted quarter. Yep. We good so far with that line? Okay. How about that next line? First measure of that next line? It's probably an 8th note, and it's probably beamed to the other 2 before it, right? So it's going to be one of these guys, right? So this is your box. Beam you up. Okay. And then the second measure, bottom of the page. Quarter. Yep, quarter note. Yep, exactly, because it's tied. Next measure, you start off with 3 beats and you end with 1, so you're missing 2 in the middle there, which would be a quarter note because it's tied to the previous one, right? Then that second to last measure is going to be an 8th note because we're missing 1 beat in that measure. And then the last measure is going to be your dotted half note. Okay.
6/8 is a real.
Yeah, it changes everything. Yep. Yep. Here? Yeah.
I started and I stopped. I was like,
Yep. What's in?
Play a piano too?
No.
No, not really.
No, not once you. Yeah. I'm trying to think. Dory, what are other songs that are in 6/8? Oh, How I Love Jesus comes to mind. There is a name I love to hear. I love to sing his word. What else? I'm drawing a blank.
I feel like there's a couple measures.
Yeah. Yep. The rejoice that we do. Rejoice in the Lord now and always. Sing it again. We read 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Yep. Yeah. So there's anything that has that kind of swing feel to it is 6/8. So yeah. Let's look. Just make some observations here for come unto Jesus. So you come unto Jesus starts off with 3/8 notes. So those are even. Come unto, and then a very, very common pattern in 6/8 time is this dotted eighth note, which we have not talked about. And so you'll see it like that when it's 2. So I'm taking the first 2 by themselves. So whenever you have a 16th note or 16th rest like this, so this when they're beamed together like that, the second beam comes over here, and then the dot, because what does a dot do? Adds half its value. So a dotted eighth note is really like an eighth note plus what?
16.
A 16th note. This is the same. This equals this. So then you have another 16th note to finish off that beat. Okay? So whenever you have 16th notes in 6/8 time, now because it's a half a beat, now you're counting with ands, like we did in 4/4 time with the eighth note, right? So this come unto Jesus, you would say 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 5 and 1 and. That's that first measure, right? Let me count that again as you're looking at it. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 5 and yeah. Sorry. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 5 and 6 and. That's that first measure. Okay? Does that make sense? No. And then the next measure is all even, right? You who are weary, rest, come to the mercy seat. Fervently kneel. Here bring your wounded hearts, broken and needy. Right? Uh-oh. What's next?
9/8.
It changes the time signature to 9/8.
Who would do that?
That's very common. 12/8 is another common one as well. So all that is doing, because we've already said that 6/8 is really it's functioning as 2 groups of 3, right? 2 groups of 3/8 notes. Now in 9/8, now it's 3 groups of eighths. Okay? So now we're at 9 because now there's 9 beats in a measure. But all of the other values do not change because the bottom number stayed the same, right? So all you're doing when you change to 9/8 is you're adding 3 more beats to a measure. That's it. And then you see that the very next measure, they go back to 6/8. And again, because where do you want that emphasis? Where do you want that strong beat? You want it on that last word, heal, right? Come unto Jesus, mighty to heal, right? So that's why they add that 9/8 so that that phrase will end on the strong beat.
So sometimes music is written to the words.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
That's interesting.
Yep. And that's why, so the earliest hymn books were just words. And then the congregation would have, they would do it by syllables. So you'll see at old hymnals, you'll see like 7.8.7.8. That means that the 4 lines of it, one of them had 7 syllables, then it had 8, then it had 7, then it had 8. So you could then take whatever tune you knew that had that makeup and sing those words to it. So that's why a lot of hymnals just had the words, and then you had, the congregation maybe sang the same tune to 4 different songs because they all had that same meter, right? So, yeah, it's crazy, crazy stuff. So, no, we won't do the whole thing, but I didn't print the last page because this song's actually a copyrighted thing, so I didn't want to break the law there, so didn't give you the last page. All right, any questions on 6-8 before we move on? Again, this is just a kind of a refresher so that when you see it, you're not surprised, but we won't spend a ton of time on it in the remainder of this class. Because now the next things that are coming are going to be the things that help us with sight singing, ear training, which is really the emphasis of the class. So, all right, any final questions before I erase the board? 6-8, 9-8, 12-8. Okay. Oh, what's the, sometimes, so one last thing I'll say about it, like that hymn, Praise to the Lord the Almighty, is written in 3/4. Praise to the Lord, the Almighty, the King of Creation. That's 3/4. But there's another arrangement that we do of it, actually, that's in 6/8. Because it's, the patterns of threes can be, but then it's praise to the Lord, the Almighty, the King of Creation. So it's a little bit more lilty in the accompaniment, too, will help carry that out. But
So that's like a waltz would be 6/8.
waltz is technically 3/4 because of the strength of all of the beats. Yep. Yeah. Yep. Yeah, so anything that says waltz on it is going to be in 3/4. Walters don't want any of those beats missing. All right, so now we're going to talk about accidentals. What are accidentals? They're there by accident. Now. Oh, okay, I see. All right, so accidentals, they're there by accident. I like that. And so you got 3 main accidentals. This is, we'll look at page 17, but don't look there yet. So we got, if any of this, I left 16 blank so that you can take any notes there that you want of any of this stuff. So, okay. So we've got sharps. We've got flats, and we've got naturals. So, what does a sharp do? Yep, it raises a note up a half step. Okay, what's a flat do? Lowers a note down a half step. Okay, and then we'll talk about natural in a minute. So if I'm playing, this note is on a treble clef. The bottom line is, well, actually, we'll go. Second line up is G. There's G. And now here is G sharp. Just went up just a little bit, right? Here's G again. Sharp. G, G sharp, G, G flat. Goes down a half step. All of music is made up of half steps, okay? If everyone take one of the boards there, on the music boards, take an eraser, a board, and a marker. All right, go ahead and take your board And we're gonna actually look down here first at the keyboard. Okay. So a piano is made up of white notes and black notes. Okay. Every single note is a half step apart. Okay. So anytime that you're looking at a piano and you see two black keys together, the white note to the left of that is a C, always. Okay? So go ahead and write C on the white note just to the left of the two black notes. Okay? Yeah, and you can do that for all of them because you can see it up here, there's another C, and then C. And you can then just probably guess if you fill in your white notes, just fill them all in. D, E, F, G, A, B. Oh, and there's your C already, right? So go ahead and fill those in. So what's your very last white note on yours? An E, right?
Can you go across? Very slow. D,
So C, D, E, F, G, and then it starts over again at A.
B, C,
Yep.
You're making it hard.
It's the alphabet, right?
Yep. I know it's hard because it doesn't, the A, we don't start on the A, right?
I can't see it.
Oh, probably can't read my writing, huh?
No, I've got bad eyes. G.
We got the C already and the D. Okay, we got it.
Yep. There you go.
We're seeing a slow
Oh, that's fine. That's fine.
B, C, D, E, F, G. Very good. A while to get this, yeah.
So if you just remember the white note to the left of two black keys is the C, you'll be able to figure out every other note on the piano, right?
That's cool.
That's nice. That's easier than 6/8 time, right? All right. So what I did, that note that I played, if we say that this was the G, that's the note I played. When I played G sharp, I played this black note. Okay? So that was up a half step, and then when I played flat, I did this. So this was G sharp, and this was the flat. So yeah, I should have said that on the board. The sharp looks like the pound sign, right, or the hashtag. That's how you see that, and a little bit on an angle, and then your flat is kind of a B. It's kind of like, how would you describe it, Dory?
A stick with a half a heart.
A stick with a half a heart. I like that. Yep. Stick with a half a heart. Okay. All right. So now, if we're on the board here, let's put your treble clef and your bass clef. And we'll just do whole notes for this exercise just because it's quicker to write. So write that G that I played, which was that second line on the treble clef. Now the weird thing about when we say G sharp, we say the letter G and then we say the word sharp, right? Whenever we notate a sharp or a flat, it comes before the note. So it's a little bit backwards. So if this is your G, then your G sharp is going to look like that, so that the middle of the sharp sign is going through that line right in front of it. Okay? So go ahead and try to write that. And then do another one with the flat. Same exact thing, the middle of that half a heart going through that line. And again, flat, same thing. We say G flat, but the flat's before.
And the reason it's before is because to warn you.
To warn you.
This next note.
Yep. To warn you. Okay? Any questions about that?
So why does the dot come after the note?
Yep. Exactly.
Say it before.
Do what?
Say it dotted half note.
Because they were all drugs.
I wasn't getting to that conclusion, but okay. All right, so let's do this. Let's try some of these. Okay, if I am going to do in your treble clef, put a whole note on space C. Okay, whole note on space C. That's this note here. And now I'm going to play. I shouldn't have done C. Well, now I'm going to do C sharp. This is C sharp. Now, so notate that next to it, okay? After that, that C sharp. What's C sharp look like? Yep. So do you have that? Something like that? Okay. It's the third space. Yep. Okay. Now, right after that, why don't you we'll do A, space A on the treble clef. Write that as a whole note. Space A, treble clef. And now A flat. A flat, yep. A and A flat. So does it look like this for you? Okay. Yep, so this was your C, your space C. Yep, space C, and then C sharp, and then A and A flat. All right, now just you can keep that on there. Let's do some in the bass clef. Let's do let's do line A in the bass clef. Put a whole note there. And then let's do A sharp. A and then A sharp. Yep, line A in the bass clef, line A in the bass clef, and then an A sharp. All right, and then how about line D, which is here. And then we'll do a D flat. Okay. Yeah. You have something like that? All right. Okay. Keep your treble clef and your bass clef on there and erase the notes. This time I'm going to tell you what the note is, and then you just have to add a sharp or flat to it based on what you hear. Okay? So I'll give you the first one. So I'll say treble clef, line B. So you would do that, right? Just put your whole note on the treble clef line B. And I'll say this is line B, treble clef. Now turn the note that you wrote into this note. If this is what you're hearing, now this is your new note. Original note, new note. So then you would write that. because that went down, right? So that was a flat. Okay? Does that make sense? So this is now remember how on week 1 we did that high-low exercise? It was preparing us for this very thing, to hear the difference there. So you can keep that. We'll just do a couple of these, okay? We'll stay in the treble clef right after that and do space F. Space F treble clef. This is your original note. Now play or draw this note. Turn this F, turn it into this note. Okay, we'll do one more in the treble clef. We'll go all the way up to space E. And we will hear, so this is your original. What's that? Original note, new note. Original note, new note. Okay. Keep all of this on don't erase anything. Keep this up. Now let's go and do some bass clef ones, okay? Your bass clef, we'll do line F in the bass clef. Draw a whole note there. Here's your original note. Now draw this note. There's your original note, new note. Okay, now go down to line G. This note. Now draw this note. Here's your original note. Now this note. And your last note is in the bass clef is space C. Space C. Now draw this note. Original note C. This note. Okay? So, this is what you should have. Okay, don't erase it. Keep it up. Keep it up for just a minute. Nice.
I missed one somewhere.
You probably just erased the first one.
Oh.
Yeah. That's fine. Yeah. Okay. Now, find your first note, which was a B flat, right? Is that the first note was a B flat? Find that on the keyboard here. Yeah, put a little 1 above that on the keyboard. B flat. So it should be this note, right? It should be, whenever you see 3 black keys, it would be the third of that. So either of these are B flat. So I started off by playing this B, and then I went down to this note, to the B flat, right? So started here, then went down to the B flat there.
So it doesn't matter on here which one it's going to
Not on there, no.
Okay.
No. It does on the piano, like if you saw the actual all 88 keys, certain ones are, yeah. Yep. Okay. Then you have an F sharp. So here's, find your F is here, and you just go up a half step. So that's the first of a three group of black keys, right? Okay, or down here too. Okay. This next one. Okay, so then the next one we had the note E, right? So you have an E. Uh-oh. Goes up a half step, right? So what's a half step up from E? F. Just so this is F is also known as E sharp. Yeah. Yeah, all right. Most bang for your buck right here.
I can't wait to come to churches and say, hey, do you know what?
Why would you ever call it an E flat?
Good question. We'll get there.
That's next week.
Great question.
Hold your horses.
So E sharp going up is an F. E flat is this black one here, right? Is the second of the two. And then then you have an F sharp. We already did that. That's here, right? In the bass clef. So you could do the lower one if you wanted to there. And then G flat is the same as F sharp, right? Only they're this one's higher. So if we are looking at it, and this F sharp would be here, and then this G flat would be this one because it's lower, right? Okay.
On a piano, is it higher to the left?
Nope, higher is to the right. Yep. Yeah, so just like you have it here. Yep. And then your last one here is a C flat. Uh-oh, there's no black key between C and B, so it must just be B, right? Every single note, whether it's a white note or a black note on the piano, is a half step. Okay? So this is the same distance here as it is here. Does that make sense? Those are both half steps. So one other term I want you to know, and that is called enharmonic. Enharmonic is two names for the same note. So, if you're looking at your piano, what is the enharmonic of a G sharp? This note right here is G sharp. That's one of its names. The other name for it is A flat, right? So that's the enharmonic. So same thing like we were saying before, like C flat is also a B. They're enharmonics. Same note, different names. Okay?
Why?
That's that's coming. Be,
That's part you're not going to tell me.
Not well, probably not tonight, but maybe. All right, so look now at the page 17 in your books.
Are we done with this?
Yeah, you can for now. Yeah. We may get back to more there, but so page 17. This is your sharps and flats and naturals, which we haven't talked about naturals yet, but we will. So they're called accidentals. Here are some rules. So at the top of the page, accidentals affect every note on the same line or space for the remainder of a measure. Okay? So if you look at that first example, you have that sharp before that first F, right? That space F. in the treble clef. They've identified the next note as an F sharp, even though there's not a sharp in front of it. And that's because that sharp carries through until that bar line. Bar lines cancel out sharps. Okay? So you see there, so
E isn't sharp then too, the third note and the first.
what's that?
So that E is a,
That E is just a regular E because there's no sharp.
yeah, but you said it carried through until what? So that-
Just on that and just on whatever note it is.
Oh, so if it changed to another note,
Yep, so if they wanted that E to be E sharp, they would have to put a sharp in front of that E as well.
okay,
Yep,
And then every E that would follow in that would be.
assuming there was one, yeah.
right. Yep. So F sharp, E, F sharp, again, because we're back to that F sharp, but the bar line hasn't changed. The next note does, though, right? So now we're back to F. They add a sharp to it, then the note after it stays F sharp because it's after it, right? And then your next note's just a regular G. Okay? The only time where a bar line does not cancel a sharp or a flat is when it's tied. Okay? So you see in that next example there, you have F sharp, E, F sharp, bar line, still F sharp. And that's because it's tied. But that doesn't carry through the rest of the measure. That next note has a sharp on it to signify going forward that measure does. Okay? Does that make sense? Okay? If at some point you want to let's go back to that very first measure. That first measure, I'll put it up here. 2, 3, 4, 5. And let's see, what was it? 2 F sharps, E F sharp. Okay. Oh, no, another F sharp, right? And then E, and then an F sharp. So you've got F sharp, E, F sharp, right? Everyone see that? Let's say we don't want this one to be an F sharp, right? Right? So then you put what's called a natural. A natural cancels A sharp or flat. And this kind of looks like a sharp if you took out some of the lines. So I should have left a little bit more room. There's your natural. It's kind of like that and then that.
Like an L plus a 7.
Yeah, an L and a 7 there combined. Okay?
So if you wanted to go back to the flat, then would you have to put it in? Or does the
Yep. So
cancel out that one note?
nope, it's an accidental. So all accidentals stay for your whole measure until the next bar line. So this exact example, so right now, this natural not only changed this note to just an F, it changed this one too. Right?
So it's whatever the latest thing you have
Yep.
among these
Absolutely.
accidentals.
Yep. So what do you do if you want this to be an F sharp? Then you put another sharp, right? So you could have that. Okay. All right. Let me see how we're doing here. So go ahead and fill out just that first line. Identify in exercise 1 there, write the name of each note. Just go ahead and write what notes those are.
When you're writing it down, not for the tablature, not on the pen,
Oh,
but you're just writing
Yes.
Then can you put the sign after?
Yes. Yep. Yep. So yeah, just exactly right here. So yeah, the sharp comes before the note, but after the letter. So you wouldn't ever really see this. It would always be after. Good question. All right. Oh, still working? Okay, that's fine. You can keep going because I'm going to assign the rest for homework. So, but I'll stop us in just a minute. All right, so let's just quickly go through, we'll do that first exercise, okay? So what do we have there? We've got D, B, B flat, B flat, B, A, F sharp, F sharp, F sharp, G, E, D flat, D. Any questions on those? Smiley face. We like it.
The last F sharp there is because of the time,
Yep.
even though it's in the next.
Yep. Exactly right. Yep. So go ahead and finish those 2, 3, 4, and 5 this week. And it's good to maybe wait a couple days just so you can kind of refresh your memory on those things. But I want to we've got like 10 minutes left, and I want to introduce us to the concept of scales now. Okay? Scales. And you maybe want to write this definition down here, okay? You can either do it at the top of page 18 or on 16. A scale, you've all heard that term, right? A scale in music is a sequence of notes ascending and or descending in pitch, following a specific pattern of whole steps and half step intervals. So I'll write that down so that you got this, okay? Scale. Okay. So the idea is that a scale has a certain sequence, right? A certain order. I'll stand on this side. Of notes, either ascending or descending or both, right? in pitch, ascending in pitch, going up, getting higher, or getting lower, following a specific pattern of whole steps and half step intervals. What's an interval? Distance between two notes, right? And so this is saying that there's different scales are specific in between each note. It's either a whole step or a half step, is what this is saying, okay? An example I'll give you is the chromatic scale. A chromatic scale is all half steps. So a C chromatic scale is going to start on a C, and then it's just going to go up by half steps till you get to another C, and then you can go back down if you want. So that's probably that's kind of the building blocks of everything, because there aren't in music technically there is, but for our purposes there's not really a smaller unit of difference in pitch other than a half step. Okay. So there's nothing that could be played in between each of these notes. Okay? So that's kind of the most basic one, but it's so basic that we hardly ever talk about it or use it. So the most common scale in music is called a diatonic scale. Not super important that you know this term, but you need to know how it functions. Diatonic scale, sometimes even called the heptatonic scale. Call your doctor in the morning. So heptatonic, hepta, that prefix there, hepta meaning 7, right? And so if you look here, this starts at C, D, E, F, G, A, B, and then C again, but there's 7 different notes. And diatonic is just from a Greek word that means like through the notes. So again, not super important, but it is important that you know what it is, not necessarily the definition. And so as we wrap up here, I want you to look at your piano boards, and if we're saying that a scale is defined by its makeup of whole steps and half steps, okay? And the C scale, which I just gave you, has no sharps or flats in it, right? It's all just your regular notes. So look at the keyboard here. So you can even start far left because that's a C, right? So what is the distance between a C and a D? It's a whole step, right? Because it's 2 half steps. So right here is a half, and then here's another half. So 2 halves together to get to D is a whole step. Okay? So we'll put a W there for the whole. Going to D to E, what's that space? It's another whole step, right? Okay? Everyone seeing this? Okay? Then when we get to E to F, that's a half. Yep. That's a half step. F to G, whole. G to A, whole. A to B, whole. B to C, half. So this is the pattern that we're going to be looking at next week as we get together. But this is always going to be the case for they're called major scales. A major, technically diatonic scale, is always going to be made up of whole, whole, half, whole, 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 half. Okay? Does that make sense? So,
Does this only matter on a piano?
nope. the piano is just the best way for us to see it. But this affects everything that we sing, and this is where we'll really dive deep next week. But if you look at page 18,
Can I ask a question?
uh-huh.
Okay, I can understand what you're putting in the halves have, but why wouldn't you, like between E and F, have another key there? It would just seem logical that if everything else, because I know it's between E and F, B and C, there's no key between them.
Yep. Well, for a couple reasons. One being that there's no pitch that exists between E and F because they're only a half step away. So if we're singing la 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 la, kind of, but then that brings up the other point of why if you had a black note in between every white note, you wouldn't be able to identify what note is what. Because the only way that we know that this is a C is because it's to the left of the two black notes. So if you had a black note here, you're like, ew, now I have no frame of reference.
So in everything, the difference between an E and an F is only a half a.
Yep, a half step. Yep. Yeah, so when you're singing, that's really important to know that the distance between E and F is different than the distance between F and G. Yeah. Yep. Yep. So that's really, really key.
So some of it's just recognition, so you can recognize it.
Yeah. Yep. Yeah. Yeah. The pitches existed before they were notated, right? Yep. And before the piano was created. So they took the pitches and then said, okay, now how can we best put this on an instrument?
So reverse engineered it.
Uh-huh. Yeah. Yep. Yep. All right. We covered a lot of ground tonight. We covered a lot of ground. So all you have to do for homework is to finish out page 17, right? Finish out page 17, and then put your work boots on for next week because we're going to be cruising again. So, but we're set up really, really, really nicely. So, and if you can remember, because we'll start here next week. So if you can remember whole, half, whole, half, you're gonna be in good shape. So, and as always, as you're looking through stuff this week, feel free to email me any questions that you have, and we'll pick it up there next week. So. All right, let me close this in prayer and we'll be done. Feel free to take home as much food as you possibly can. God, thank you again for today, Lord. What a joy it's been. And thank you that, even just going through all of these details of music is just a reminder of how infinitely creative and wise you are. So even as our brains kind of hurt from going through all of this stuff, it's just a reminder of how you have created all and that you're over all, and we are not you. And so we praise you that we can trust in you, in your wisdom, in your goodness, in your power. So help us to leave here with great joy and confidence in who you are. And we pray this in the name of Jesus. Amen.